Welcome to Mix Fix number 7. Today, I am going to mix a song named Your Eyes by Blake Walt. And the way Mixfix works on Puremix is if you're a subscriber, Puremix member, you can send in your song to, be a candidate to have your song tortured on camera by me. And so today, Blake Walt won. I listened to the track. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I want to mix this. Very often we get, super detailed stuff. Sometimes we get nothing. We just get stems and no information. In this case, I really like it. Blake sent us the cover art. So I'm going to show you the cover art before you hear the song. Check it out. That's the cover art. So, hello darkness, my old friend. Let's see what the music sounds like. So it's a Logic song. And what I've done so far is I've duplicated the song and I kept the first one, the one he sent me, the Logic session, as source in case I have to, revert. And then I have the on-camera one, and I opened it earlier to make sure I had all the plugins. I have all the plugins, and I'm going to discover the song with you and see what's inside. He also sent stems. The tempo is 126, and the stems are super organized. Look at that. This is a precise human being. Awesome. So the first thing I'm going to do is go here and make sure that you can hear it. Logic. It's been a while. This is how I learned to make records with Logic Audio a long time ago. Let's see. I won't be afraid, crawling to the end, and it's scared when the grim man comes. The birds flock out, all I see in his mind. So epic. I couldn't make myself stop it. I had to listen to the whole thing. So I know the lay of the land. I listened to it a long time ago when I put it in the prime candidates. But this is epic. So I love it. I did poke through a little bit to figure out to try and connect what I was hearing with what Blake did, and I have to. There's some things that I don't fully understand. Like for example, I can see here that push and boost at 60 on the Pultec shows that somebody was struggling, and then attenuation at 10K here. I think that somebody was struggling. I think the main problem is probably coming from the drums. Maybe the drums. Yeah, I see. So this bass drum is not being our best friend. Okay, we can fix that. And then I want to understand what's going on with the vocals. So obviously this is like a block, right? It's got its own vibe. It's completely different from most records that I hear every day, which I think is awesome. And there's something I don't understand what's going on, so I gotta figure out. So the bass, the bottoming information comes from this guy. Really two guys, this guy, and this guy. Very interesting combo. So there's that to contend with. Sorry, I gotta unmute before I close. Okay, there you go. And then the vocals. So that's the bass, drums. We see violins. There's this big epic pad, and then 3 guitars, a pair of acoustics, and an electric, and then vocals. So let's solo the vocals. Let's see. I won't be afraid. Now the plot thickens deeply. The guitar and the vocal are on one track, mono track at that. I see. Okay, so all this stuff here is to get a vibe out of this. It looks like a live performance that was then arranged after that. Cool, never done that before. Okay, so that's on the lead vocal. Well, lead vocal and guitar. So that further comforts me in the opinion that these are all the plugins on the live. Ooh, 2 Sues in a row of the same. So something was very wrong with the original tech. Okay, cool. So this comforts me thinking, my original feeling was like, wow, this is like a big block of sound. And my personal aesthetic tends to be like super clean, delineated stuff. And I think I need to do the opposite here. I need to keep the blurry cloudiness. I'd like to remind you the cover art. So I think we need to mix with this in mind. So I'm not going to try and clean everything up as I would naturally, but there's a few things that I feel are could be improved upon. Number one, well, the vocals I can't do much. And also, what's this other one? Vocal sub. Let's see. I'm discovering. This is kind of fun. This looks like an overdub. Let's see. All my sins. All right, and it's ultra automated. So that is like the support line on top of the vocals. So let's listen to the two of them. All my sins will be gone, will be gone with you. Background vocals here. Let's see that. They're here. I'm used to clicking. I'm not used to clicking there for my thing. It's kind of interesting. It's like when you have getting back in Logic like this. It's kind of like when you switch shoes, but you keep the old shoes, and then you wear the old shoes for an afternoon because you can't find a new one. It's like kind of familiar and odd at the same time. Okay, I didn't even hear that. Let's see how it is. That's part of the cloud. You got to be careful with that. Okay, so first things first. This is cool. Let's two things. Number one, let's put decibel on, so we know where we stand with levels. There you go, decibel, poof, and let's pick my personal little thingy there. And so I'm going to close it. Now it's shooting on the iPad. Let's see where we at. Loud and manageable. And then I'm going to put mix up on, and we're going to subscribe to that track 7. I already put it on the the regular mix up. So now we'll be able to check what I'm doing right now with what Blake had done originally, to make sure we don't stray too much from the vision. Let's make sure it's downloaded. Cool. So green's DAW, what we're doing in Logic, and then this tremendous color pink is mix up. Cool. So I'm set. I see that I have headroom. The first thing I'd like to see is why this Pultec thing here. Let's see. I see. While it may seem like a good idea, I have a feeling that maybe we could not do this. Just for a second. I'm just gonna flatten this, move on to the next Mixbus. Oh, so this guy is absolutely awesome, but I usually fight it. So let's see. So this greatly contributes to the cloud, and my feeling is that it's a bit much. Let's I think this is going to leave us more space to do stuff. And then, oh, hi, classic from the lovely people at PSP, the vintage warmer. Let's see how hard it's being hit. Match here. Same section. With leave it like this so I can, bypass and be able to come in and out and make sure that I'm not screwing up. And then I'm gonna use an old faithful, the U80 version of the Oscar limiter. I like the sound of it, and it's gonna help my computer because there's a lot of tracks. Let's see what happens. 4 dBs-ish. Let's give it 4 dBs. And come here, there you go. And I'm going to open the attack so it doesn't cache all the transits. Drums are. possibly in the same level range, but we gain some space for our transients to be able to have a little more, I'm not going to clean it up, but to have a little more definition, at the very least in the drums. If I mute everything but the vocal and add things back after, I think you'll get the vibe for what I'm looking for. And just for my brain, because my brain is, you know, limited in certain ways, I'm going to put the bass. I'm going to try and move the, actually, in Logic you have to do it here. Move the bass to the right of the drums. It's very difficult for my brain to process the idea that the bass would be to the left of the drums. You know, we all have our limitations. I'm going to color it red so I know where I live. I live right here. And red, and these two should be red too, because we have rules. Okay, cool. Cool. So let me mute everything except the vocals and build from there. Shaker. Actually, I could do it here. I'm going to leave the vocals and the background vocals just hanging from the top. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to make sure that I copy the original settings and I use the B thing if I'm going to change anything. In this case, I think this should be off. It's a little muddy there. That, what's happening here? And then what's happening here? I kind of like that presence, so I'm just gonna not completely remove it, but like halvesies. What else do we have? Old Faithful. Just doing tone. Oh, here's another one. That's on the source track, right? And then we have these two soothes. So let's mute the soothes. Maybe one will do. The exact same thing is right after. That's a bit much. Let's just mute one. Nice presence again, and then it goes into another compressor. Another EQ. Switch this to a natural phase. Actually, let's switch the other one to natural phase 2. This EQ is awesome. I strongly urge you to compare the sound of it in low latency in natural phase and learn from that. It's an interesting moment in your life. And another soothe. Oops. When the gray man comes, the birds flock out. Alright, so I gotta be careful because if I touch this too much, it's gonna fall apart. It's kind of a block of sound. But I gained a little more presence on the vocal, which is what I was looking for. Let's see what happens when the other vocal comes in. Gone, we'll be gone. Gain plugging is there because Blake probably was very happy with his movement, but just wanted to have a little more of the vocal sub. There's other ways of doing that in Logic, but the gain thing is the easiest way. I see a lot of people do that in Ableton too. Okay, so let's just consider that this is our starting point. And the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to see how I can enhance the drums from that starting point. So this is with the drums. Where do they come in? They come in here. Okay, good. It's turning down the truth. Let's do a quick round. Kick in. Cool. Kick out. The two. Funky in the face there. Kick sub. Yamaha or something. The three. It's just not, there's something funky. Excuse me, I gotta blow my nose. This is a little health break. All right, let's see. I'm gonna play some stuff so you don't have to listen to this horrible thing. It's turning down the truth is gone. All right, did you picture how you like the drums to sound? I did. Let's listen to the snare. Bottom snare. Maybe out of phase two, I don't know. And then, cool. Then an overhead. Where does it go? Oh, and then room. I'm dying to know where this was recorded. This is a huge room. Okay, so the drums all together. I don't think we need the kick sub. So I really like the side kick, but I'm not super in love with the sound of the snare. I think that's part of the problem. It doesn't match the rest of the epic quality. I think it's all very, it's a little too rough. So why don't we do this? I'm gonna create what Logic calls track stacks for the kick. Summing stack, please, thank you. And call it kick. And then I'm just gonna mute the kick sub. I don't think I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna do the same thing with the snare. Create track stack. Create and call it snare. Now, for those of you watching, today is a well, it wasn't today, it was last week. We introduced a new plugin to the Puremix plugin suite. So if you're subscribers to the Puremix website, you have access to this plugin now, and it's called Drum Replacer by UVI, which is what I'm going to use right now to enhance these drums. And it's an absolutely badass plugin, and I'm really grateful for the UVI team to supply this to you lovely people who are Puremix subscribers. So what I want to do is I want to put a drum replacer on the inside kick. Then we'll go from there. So a quick run through drum replacer. Mark Abrams did a whole hour-and-a-half thing on it live last week, and we're probably going to create more content on this for you to understand. But it's, in my opinion, the best drum replacer right now, which is why I called UVI and say I want the Puremix people to have access to this. So this is your threshold, and you lower it. You have a little click that can tell you if your detector is correct. I think it's correct. By the way, I'm sure somebody's going to make a track with this. Can't wait. Send it to me. And so the thing that's really special about Drum Replacer is that it does what all drum replacers can do, which is you can drop samples in. So I have my favorite samples here, and I can go and drag and drop samples. I can listen to samples, and I can play them sorry, I'm not used to my Logic key commands yet. Boom. Full disclosure, the first thing I did when I opened Logic is I used their the preference stuff to give it Pro Tools key commands, because that's who I am. So you're able to preview your samples here, but and that's what we'll do in a second. But the thing that really I think is awesome is that you can use plugins. So for example, I really like the sounds of Addictive Drums. So I'm going to drag and drop Addictive Drum here. And I'm able to open the plugin from within this plugin and go to Kit and choose what I want. So usually this is the bass drum. The bass drum is usually on C1, right? So I'm going to tell Drum Replacer to play C1 every time it hears a note. That's it. In about 4 seconds, I'm able to have Drum Replacer play Addictive Drum in real time based on the sampling of the analysis of this track in real time, which is pretty rad. So the take was probably compressed. I like this bass drum. This is I use it on everything. This old Gretsch. This take was probably compressed on the way in, so there's not a lot of dynamic. We're going to try and balance that maybe with a kick out. Let's see. So this is just the kick in. This is what the bass drum sounds without. You can hear like the differences in the kick in the pedal. So I'm going to lower the sample. By the way, this little duck system here that lets you duck the dry when the kick is in. Really, really real. What happens if I add the out? A little bit out of phase, so I'm going to use my favorite, I'm going to use a technical term, phase fucker. It's called the IBP by our good friends. Did I just say that? By our good friends at Universal Audio. Where are you? I'm not used to look at lists. I usually just do a search. And in this case, so many plugins, so little time. Let's see. It's made by Little Lab, so maybe in the L's. Et voilà. Poof. So let's see the outside kick. Invert. I take that. This is cool. So let's try and do the same thing with the. So I'm going to mute the sub, and I'm going to do the same thing with the snare. Cool. So tough one. So I'm going to use Drum Replacer here too. And there's a recently used thing in Logic, which is cool. And in this case, let's use a sample. Why don't we try to look through the built-in stuff? So let's see. Round Robin Acoustics, snare drums. No. 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 Let's try this guy. So it's a little long, but I think it's going to work. Let's see. So lower the threshold. . Feels a little long to me, so I'm gonna, you know, neuter it a little this way. All right. Another really cool feature of this plugin is the tune. It can listen to the track, analyze, and tell you that it's 5 semitones higher. We're here with, maybe I'd like to have it just a little bit under to fatten it. I'm going to give it a little dynamic. Okay, so let's listen to the whole kit now with these new samples. Let's look at the toms. Overheads. The overheads are cool, but they're a little kind of like real. UA just added oxide to the spark, so I'm going to use that. Transient with compression, it becomes a little gentler. Let's look at that room. I'm going to copy oxide there. There's a little bit of a like 3K weirdness, so I'm going to add an EQ there and just, yeah. Cool, so drums at this point. I dig this. Let's see what he had on the Mixbus, of the drums. Be a little brutish. It's cool, but it lacks density, right? We have now we have real bottom, and on the bass drum, and the snare is a little thicker. Because of the precision of the threshold here, I was able to have the extra snare just on the snare, not on the side 6, which is dope. Let's see what he did with the EQ. Let's imagine this is not necessarily absolutely necessary. So we have two sends here. We have B14 and B12. Let's go to the right and see 12 NY comp. So that's probably parallel compression. Let's see how it hits. Okay, maybe I'm going to lower this a little bit. Let's see who else is going into the B12. We should be okay. I'm going to keep it because it's part of the texture, but I'm going to lower it so I can maybe do my own thing. And then 14 is the UAD chambers. Which one? Capital. Why is it muted though? Let's see. use it. This is good. Let's use it. So I keep that, but I'm of the mind that I would like to have a little more of my, my own fantasy stuff going. And so I think I'm gonna use my Old Faithful 33609 to try and get that thing going. This is so simple. It really does the job of making things thicker. And then I'm gonna move this aux here. Can I do this? No, I can't. Okay. And I'm gonna create a new aux and do that thing I do. Create a bus and go into, say, bus 18. Go over here on the right, and on bus 18, I'm gonna put the U80 Fatso. And Empirical Lab Fatso, the Junior will do just fine. And make sure that it's on stun and do our own parallel compression that we control. Here you go. For the whole. Gets loud here, right? That's some cymbal, so I'm going to lower that a little bit. Cool, great, that's working. And then I'd like to do a couple tricks. Trick number one is I'm going to create another bus and call it on bus 19. And then put an expander on it. So I'm going to use the built-in plugins. Let's see, or actually a gate. Let's use a gate. And let's check this out. I'm going to send just the snare to it. I think it's good enough for jazz. And I'm going to put our trusty Eventide plugin from the Puremix Suite 2016. And that way I'll be able to have that reverb just on the snare. More on the snare. Without the, sorry, I made a mistake here. Without the gate, it would sound like this. With the gate. A little higher threshold. One time. That's working great. And then a little shorter reverb. I really dig that. Let's see in the context of the whole kit. Cool. Let's copy oxide on the whole kit to give it a little rounded tone. Little bit of a taming of the low mid here. Wow, this is a wide Q. Around, I guess, 40. The low end, I meant. So let's listen to this with the vocals. Or not. Who's soloed? Oh, my bad. Let's name everything. Snare, verb. Cool. Here we go. Pitch of the sample snare. Regain a little bit of the length on the snare reverb. Chamber. Cool. A little bit of 1176. I like this one for this purpose on the snare to soften it a little. Not soften it, that's quieter, but to just round out those transients. Bass drum with that, with it's nice. Quick trip down memory lane. This is the original mix. There we are now. I think it's in the spirit, and we get a little more, you know, oomph. Let's look at the bass now. The drums and the bass drum. So it's really the combo that does the trick. Let's see what Blake had on as an EQ. Maybe we try without. In this case, I really like Spice Rack to give it a little bit of presence and energy. Check it out. Who came up with this default setting? Let's calibrate to make sure we're not kidding ourselves. Again, with just the bass so you can hear. I like the shine that it gives. Let's try the tube one. Even better. Let's see if it feels good with the drums. This is a healthy moment to go check out what's going on the Mixbus, see if we're not crushing things, we're still within, you know, metrosexual range. slow the speed of this compressor down. We're still within the realm, and we see that there was no real need for this thing. I think the problem came from the out of phase issues with the bass drum, which then pushed into more and more directions, and then pushed Blake to try and find solutions, because he may not have noticed that issue with the bass drum, which kind of ruins the whole mix thereafter. And that's the problem. If you start with, like, say, a super bright vocal or a super bright something, then your brain is going to want to match all that, and then you end up 3 hours down the road. Sorry for being alive. But I think we're in good shape. Adding a little air there on the Mixbus just because. And otherwise, we're pretty good. I don't use vintage warmer on Mixbuses, so it's really acting a lot. And this is cool, so I'm going to have to learn how to do it. See if I can maybe back it off a little bit somehow. It sounds great. It's very much part of the sound that Blake wanted, so I think I'm going to leave it as is and not touch. Let's see how I just softened it a little bit by using the mix command, the wet dry. Let's see how it feels now with the vocals. Another what should we do? Let's try the Hitsville and see if we can get it to basically vibe up those drums. So this is going to sound awful for a second. I'm going to stay in the full track so I can hear the concept. Tone, but I don't like it as a pass-through. It's too much. I don't have enough control. So I'm going to remove it. I'm going to create another scent and use a touch of that to just, how would you say, enrober. Look it up. So let's go back to Hitsville. I like this recently used thing. This is cool. Nice. And I liked it far away and darker. Maybe we use the 44s, and I lowered this and raised the bottom. Let's call it Motown, and go back to the drums. This one I'm going to do it in solo so you can hear what's going on. By the way, little known fact, but in Logic, you can edit the I/O label. So for example, B20, I can go down to bus 20. I don't know if it's a little known fact, but it's a little used fact. Tell you when I get Logic sessions, nobody does this, but I like to do it. I call it Motown. And now the sand here tells you what it is. Thought you might like to know. Those Logic users out there that have 20 sands and have to go back to the right of their session every time because they don't remember what they did when it was sand number 7, maybe that would be useful. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. Blake. There's still a connection thing that's not happening, but we don't have the full arrangement. So I don't want to make things too wet and too blurry until we have everything in. But this is the right direction, I think. So let's add the shaker. Let's move it here. I can hear it better. Big pad, this guy. Definitely needs oxide. Oxide is the best. Oxide is like, I don't know how they did it, but it sounds to me like a more efficient version of the 800. And I use the 800 everywhere, but now that oxide is in the Spark and it's really DSP efficient, then I use it quite a bit. And it's great to soften and give soften transit and give like a certain warmth to the sound. See that teeny with the tape. I definitely want some reverb on this. After the pads, so I'm going to move the pads up so that things are in the order in which they appear. I know it's obsessive compulsive, and as my friend Guillaume's t-shirt says, OCD is not a disease, it's a lifestyle. Let's see, there you go, and then the violins, and then the pianos come last. This is more like it. Now I know where things are. What they do. So someone had a problem in the low mids with the strings, so I'm going to leave it as is, but I think they could use a little bit of a space. And I usually that could also be achieved with an EQ, but I think that I'm going to leave it as is because maybe there's something I don't know. And since we are blitzkrieg mixing, I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to use the Ocean Way Studio thing here because that is just money on strings when they sound a little close to you. You could use the string settings, or you could be a wild rebel and use, I don't know, the vocal group setting on strings and just invent something new. But in this case, check it out. Over here. Let me level match so you can really get the vibe. Before. With it. Just pushes it back a little bit, and then you can use another set of microphones, and I like to use the wider stereo ones, like this. Without they're here, and then I wanted to push them out, and with these two set of microphones. Sounds bananas. A little loud maybe, so it's stealing the thunder of the band coming back in, but I dig the vibe. So that's good for the strings. So I just put Ocean Way and put them in the in Al's plate, the chambers. Then this part is more comprehensible if the pianos are in. The pianos create the interest here. And let me see where they are here. Bridge pianos. This is the bridge. This sounds great. You know what they say, if it ain't broke, put a plugin on it. So let's try Oxide again. See that little 3K stuff? Gone. Cool. This could be a little dreamier, and I'd be interested to see what an EMT would sound like on this. The 250, nice and gloss. Cool. Let's make sure I'm not ruining the vibe that Blake wanted. Original. I think we're in the ballpark. What's left? Guitars. Let's see. Extra guitars, just like there's extra vocals. We have an electric one that sounds a little bit like so. Before I hit the electric guitars, any questions? Any questions?
There's nothing so far.
I can't possibly be this explicit.
Patel said that they love you at one point. So
Love you too. That's I needed that. So today is a difficult day. I'm happy to be here with you guys. What else? Nothing.
yeah,
Let's keep.
people are liking it.
Okay, let's rock.
Yeah.
Yes, it sounds bananas, right? He did a really good job. But it's all this when I hear a track like this, I can't help but think about Portishead and Radiohead and all those ultra layered records. And the thing about this is to, at least, you know, in this exercise that we're doing, nerdy exercise, we're doing the mix fix thing. every mix can be fixed, meaning anything can always be enhanced in retrospect, right? I listened to mixes from last year or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, and I'm like, who the hell did that? It's like, oh, it's me. It's not that. That kind of vibe. And that's because we all progress, and also all of it is a question of perspective, right? So depending on what you did that day, what happened the day before, you may be in a certain mood or a different mood. And so for me, I really like when there's so much identity in a song like this. And the danger here is to be ultra technical, not fuck with it. It's got to be what it's got to be. And the beauty of it is its cloudiness, and I love that. And so I am fighting my inherent brain, or my default mode network, as some people would say, to just go in and just like high pass the shit out of everything. It would be wrong to do here. So speaking of which, let's listen to the guitar. See, it's cool. Sounds great. I don't see it functioning in the track yet, but I will. So super high passed. I didn't do it. Whoa, hi. Let's hear this in context. And then, so super high pass with the built-in EQ, and then something bothered him. Soft. Let's turn Sooth back on. I think Sooth kind of takes a little bit of its cojones away. Let's see in the context. There's an automation on there. So let's trim it and put it where we want to be. Let's see. Come with me. There you go. So I want to put it on trim, and I'm going to deal with the trim here. Where is it already? Main volume. There you go. So in theory, once you're in trim, in this lovely piece of software, you can raise the automation by hand. I don't know where it went. It's been a while. Let me see. This is me rediscovering. Relative is a second line. I don't want a second line. Or maybe I do. It'll be faster. Let's do the relative thing, and then somebody is going to scream at me from the sidelines on how to do the trim. Volume, smart controls, trim. Let's see. I want it louder, I think. My brain is not functioning properly. Where is the... There you go. This is my relative volume. Move it up. I think we could keep the Sooth, but we don't have to be so brutal about it. Lower everything but the vocals for a second. definitely making progress. I'm going to lower the sample. I think it's a little obnoxious. Sound odd to you, but I think that snare sample is cool, but it's too wide. Check it out. If I go and use, it's still here, awesome, direction mixer, and I make it more mono. Now. Better, right? Cool. This is sounding really quite lovely. We have two more guitars, acoustics. They seem to be friends. Let's just stack them. So they're super automated, I can tell. So let's just stack them. And then that way I have control over the whole stack. Okay, let's do like stereo 1176 would be nice. So you lovely people from Puremix. By the way, if you're a Puremix subscriber, that's awesome. Thank you. That shouldn't prevent you from subscribing to this channel. Apparently, I'm supposed to say that. Did you subscribe to this channel? Subscribe to the channel. You could like it too, or you could hate it, whichever you want. A little more density to add to the pad. Nice and clean gain to put it in the song. Let's see. Really cool. Let's see if I can put some sauce maybe in the Motown verb, which is labeled Motown. Useful. Boost, Motown, Motown. As a reminder, what I did here, this plugin is very powerful because you can change the microphones, you can change the distance from the microphones to the speakers, you can change the speakers. So it takes a while to get used to all those things, but the way I personally did it, because I had a chance to have it early, is I basically ran the same exact signal through all these options to teach me what I liked. And it can be overwhelming because there are so many options. So what I did is I went full on cubist, like all of nothing. So instead of trying every min to max, I tried the vibe of this and the vibe of that, and then your brain over time can interpolate what it would sound like in the meantime, in the between. And same with the speakers, same with DK and those very powerful EQs there. And I really like how natural it sounds. It sounds like it was in the room. See how that feels in the vibe. Yes, Tom. Yes. So all those reverbs had different sounds. The question from Tom in the back. He's in the back of the room, but in the front of my heart. The way you choose a reverb is, in this particular case, when I choose these particular reverbs, it's because they have a certain tone, right? So the Hitsville it has this very recognizable sound because they went and sampled the actual Motown Attic. It sounds like that. And I spent a lot of time comparing, and actually there's a track somewhere in the internet, the one with email, where you can actually see this work really hard. You can go listen to the examples. They were made here. And so if I want to, let's imagine the thought process. I'm here, I'm listening to these guitars, and they sound a little gruff, like they sound a little too real for, whatever, Friday afternoon. So I'm like, okay, I'd like to make them feel a little dreamier, but I don't want to Quasimodo them. So my idea was like, I want to put them in a room, so I want to feel a room behind them. From current experience, for me, my go-to to make that happen is the U80 Hitsville, because that's its function in life, right? Earlier, you saw me put the Ocean Way, U80 Ocean Way on the strings. That's because from experience, when I want to put a room around the strings, that's what works best. I haven't tried Hitsville on the strings, should try that. Now, on the snare, I used the 2016 because that has a certain grain, a certain tone that usually works great on drums. And the way I usually do it, actually, I usually put it in line. Let me show you. What I usually do is I usually put it in line. This one is, I stumbled upon it, which is what most mixers do. You try stuff. Sometimes you get bored. Sometimes you're stuck. So this is my snare, as is. Okay. And then I would go into the Eventide and put the 2016. Where are you? Gorgeous. Hi. And in Pro Tools, I have a preset, but I'm just going to recreate it here. Really short. And I like the modern stereo room for that. And I like that because I've listened to those plugins. I spend time listening to tools so that when I'm in the process of making music, I don't have to experiment too much with the tools because they're in my brain because I spend time checking them out. So obviously I've been doing it for a solid 10, 12 minutes. So I've had the opportunity over time to accumulate some intuitions on as to which tools I like and which tools I don't like as much. And so over time, I've built this library of options. But I also know that if you always use the same stuff, then you start chunking your creativity and your brain shut down, which is the opposite of what you do when you're trying to create music. So I always force myself to try new stuff. So I have a list of new plugins that either I buy or get sent to me that I try weekly. I'm like, I'll try this one. And then sometimes I love it, and sometimes it leaves me completely, it's great. Maybe somebody sends me a new plugin, it's great, but I already have a great plugin that does the same thing, right? So maybe I won't switch that way. But it's really important to spend that time. That's the practice of this particular art form. The practice is really into being able to intuit, to imagine what you want the sound to sound like before you start nubbing. So in this case, check it out. See how that sounds? A lot less of it. Without. Listen to the presence around the side stick. So a while back, I don't know how long, I realized that this 2016 was actually, I discovered it on the previous version of this plugin from the same company, that it really did what it needed to do for me to put a little distance between me and whatever instrument, especially drums. And which is why I went and asked Eventide, I said, hey, I would like our Puremix subscribers to have access to your tool because I think it's very unique. They said yes, so you're welcome. I also very often use it on kick. Check it out. Copy it. I actually use that to thicken the kick. A lot of electronic kicks come and they're very dry in a kind of rough kind of way, kind of like a vulgar kind of way. And I like using the stereo room, and I usually, make it quite dark. Really light, short, and lower it. With hear the first impact. Now with. Here it's a little fatter, but it's not EQ, it's just more reflections, and it sounds really good. In this case, I don't know if that's going to work for this track. Let's see. Actually, it removes a little bit of that vulgar kind of like, hey, I'm a sample quality to it. So let's leave it in. Question. I hope this answered. But I want to make a point. People agonize over, oh, I'm using a hall, I'm using a chamber, I'm using a room, and I have to use a plate, and when to use this and when to use that. And it's going to make people scream, but 98% of the time, it makes no difference. Because in the sauce, it's just sauce. It's just like a big shh. Now, if you are using the right plugin, is a shortcut to get into where you want to be. I know that if I put a 2016 on a kick drum and I lower this, this, and that, I'll have this effect right away. Can I do this with another reverb plugin? Maybe. It's going to take longer. Why bother? But in general, like I use UAD AMT 250 when I want a glossy tail. I use UAD EMT 140 when I want something that sounds like a vintage plate. That's a very particular sound, and I need it to be recognizable. But if I want sauce on like tail on a vocal, and I don't want to sound vintage or have that more metallic vibe, then I'll pick another plugin. Maybe I'll use a EMT 250, or maybe I'll use the Valhalla vintage verb, and whatever the default is, probably a hall. It doesn't sound like the vocals in a hall. It just sounds the vocal is wet, and it doesn't sound like a plate. It's all good. So it's very important to not agonize over those choices. If you put a reverb on, this is a good exercise to do. You have a mix that you like and it's finished. Go to your reverb plugins and change everything from hall to plate or hall to chamber and see if it changes the course of modern music. Probably not, if it's the same length, right? So it's really important to know that all these plugins are awesome because they recreate things from the past. And those things from the past are part of our culture because we know that sound from records. However, most of the time, because there's so much shit going on, it doesn't really make a difference unless you're using the plugin for exactly what it was specified for. So if I want to put something in a room, or if I want to feel like it's 1964 in Detroit, I'll use the Hitsville. If I want to use gloss, I'll use the 250 because it's just awesome. If I want to have a non-linear stuff that sounds like 1983 in the Lower East Side, then I'll use the UAD AMS because it's so dope. If I want to sound a little bit later, glossy and digital and recognizable, then I'll use the UAD 480. If I want to do tricks with the reverb, I use the gigahertz, the megaverb, because it has like built-in gates and mangling tools. So it's more for me, and that's just me. If you ask Vance, or if you ask Andrew, or if you ask anybody else, they probably say, "No, I can only do." I don't know what they would say, but I personally think that unless something is very naked and the tone of the reverb is really recognizable, then the type of reverb doesn't matter as much. That's what I think. So I may have overshot a little bit on that guitar. part with the original. This is where we at now. I think we are still respecting the original vision, and I think that, but I think it feels better to me. So I have two more things I want to do before we bring Blake on. Blake is in Japan, so it's like an ungodly hour for him. It's like 4 a.m. or something. He's a trooper. I may want to do, let's call it something else, bus. This snare still doesn't sit right with me, and that's the first thing that bothered me on the original mix. I feel it's better, but I think I can do even better. Let's see. Aux 22. So what can I use here? Oh, speaking of reverbs. Let's try 140. What's my thought process? I want density and I want tail, and I want it to be recognizable. I want to be like really recognizable. So let's see if it's working. It's exactly what I needed. Without. With. Allow me to raise that sample in drum replacer. Replace this guy. I love this guy, but I have a unusual fetish for its older grandparent. That was one of my second totally impossible to do without plugin from UAD. The first one was the AMT 140 and this one, because I think I want to do this. Thinking that I might be obnoxious about it. I gotta solo the drums. I can do it here. Lengthen it, because why not? One more thing, I think that I'd like to try, where's the best, the bass gain stage for it would be, say, here, and use oxide from the Spark thing here. See if it helps. Too hard. hazy thing, that softening that it does. Let's compare with the original. Not so obnoxious. Also, I'm going to check the bottom on that bass drum. I feel like it's a little too thick. Yeah. Just a little. We can get a little, I don't want to touch this too much, but I think we can make it a little more in your face using sugar and giving it a little saturation here, a little bit of this and this. And I know this because I've done this before a couple times. The concept. Look at the high points level-wise here on decibel. It's a bit loud, but it's not, you know, it's not crushing. So this is the old philosophical question I think that people have been asking themselves since probably Jesus times, is like, how loud do you deliver your record? Well, in this case, it depends on your relationship with your artist. If your artist trusts you and you say, yeah, you know, I understand, I'm going to deliver the song to you, and artist also could be your drummer. You never know, some drummers are artists. And you tell them, look, it's not going to be as loud as the demo. I hope that's okay. Most of them say, of course, no problem. And then you get a call to complain that it's not as loud as the demo. So you have several options. You could use Mix-Up, and in Mix-Up, you could put the original, and then you can, on the online version, you can, you know, choose how loud the original is so that you don't have to chase the demo. I've been known to maybe have done that a couple of times. Or if you're working, say, in a label environment where everything is super loose and nobody knows what's going on and everything is last minute, nobody's going to go make an effort to listen to what you say about levels, then in that case, you don't have a choice. You get to match the demo. What would I do in this environment? I don't know. Let's ask Blake. It's been an hour and a half-ish. And I feel confident that, we'll see, maybe I'm going to fall on my face, but I feel confident that this is a good fix on an originally very good mix with a very good intention, right? The spirit of it was right there. And I feel that Blake had some issues with the bass drum, and clearly he was not happy. Already it was an unbelievable task to do all this around guitar vocal take that's one mic, right? It doesn't sound like that at all, does it? It sounded really like super produced and great. So I think that we're in good shape here. You know what? I just realized before I called Blake, or he calls me, that I didn't place the background vocals. I am a scoundrel, as my grandmother would say in French. distinct. I think they're more like extra stress in a good way, like stressing the environment. I personally would be comfortable delivering this. You can see that the average here on decibel on my iPad, you can see that the average of the track is -10. So that's not, I mean, it's loud, but it's not loud. It's where we hang these days. And I don't feel there's a compromise. I'm not super familiar with the Vintage Warmer display, but it feels like really reasonable to me. Vintage Warmer does a lot more than just compress. It has like all the saturation stuff. And then on the limiter, I'm doing nothing. I have dB of limiting, so it's basically there for as a gain fader. And also the tone of this is good. It sounds great, sounds fat. And that's it, really. So I am not really compressing that much. Maybe 2 dBs on the Mixbus and 0.5 dB on the limiter. So it's really, this is where the track wants to be at this point. Could I push it louder? Yeah, I could go. But I don't think it's necessary because the demo is at that level. So I don't have to turn it into crêpe, which is the French pancake. Let's call Blake and see if he managed to get up. Start the call. Connecting. You can see. Hi, Andrew. This is Andrew. And behind Andrew is Tom. What's up, Tom? So I, like all you guys, I spent half my life on Zoom. So participant 1, 2, there you go. Blake Walt, admit. Let's see if it's going to work today. What's up? Hi, Blake.
Hi.
I'm feeling a little pizza, Tower of Pizza-ish, but it's kind of nice.
Am I where?
Yeah,
like that?
This is nice. It's a good stretch on my body. I dig.
Just 20 minutes. Is it better?
Yeah, now this works.
All right.
Brilliant. Hi, Blake.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Sorry, you have to listen to my song for like 2 hours or something.
I love it. How's your blood pressure?
Thank you.
How are you feeling right now? You okay?
I have to say that it was very stress-inducing, exciting, but very stress-inducing. Having your track and your vocal being listened to thousands of people. So
you sound great, man. You sound really good, and
Thank
you have
you.
so much vibe. Like the minute I heard the song, I think it was like what? You sent it like 9 months ago or a year ago. It was a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Immediately put it in a folder. I said, "Oh, I want to work on this. I want to."
No, thank you.
And I didn't know I was in the session. I didn't know how you did it. I really didn't realize. So what did you do? You actually recorded guitar vocal one pass?
Yeah. In fact, I upload videos on my YouTube channel and I record live. So it's a live performance, but I had like the drums and everything written down in my DAW in Logic. I bounced the stems to go in my sample player and played live above it and put it in back and mix it from there. So it's one live take, and then I added layers to kind of make it sound.
Yeah, it's cool, man, and it's really rich harmonically. There's a lot of tension, and there's a lot of darkness in it that matches very much your artwork.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's cool. So where are you right now? You're in Japan.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
That's crazy. What do you do in Japan?
Many things.
Okay, got it. Cool. So what time is it? 4 a.m.?
Yeah, it must be 6 or something.
6 a.m. Well, thank you for being
here.
So from what you've heard, is there anything you need me to do different? Is there anything that I missed or that I didn't get, that I didn't understand, or what do you think?
No, I think it's great. It was nice that you started with my session and all the plugins I've used, and I guess I'm using too much Synth. But
well, we can talk about that. I think that what are you listening on? What are your speakers?
HD 600s.
Well, those are perfect. But do you have speakers?
I have. I don't use them.
Maybe you won't do that.
I'm I'm in a small apartment, so I can't really do that.
I get it. So the 600
it's just-
very accurate. They're really, really accurate.
Mhm.
So that's cool. What I think is either I've seen this happen before. Is there are two things can happen. Either maybe you recorded your stuff a little too close, and those transients bothered you, especially the low mid transients as we saw on the guitars. And then so you soothe, which is what it's for, to just like, tame things down. That's option number one. Option number two, maybe you listen a little loud in your headphones, and so it's aggressive to your ears, and so you basically try and get back to your bass line, which is what you hear when you're in the room singing. You don't hear fast in your face transients. I've seen that happen too. I think if you try and listen to your mix quiet, very quiet in your headphones, or very quiet in your, like less than TV watching level on your speakers, you will be able to see that you didn't need to go that far into the soothe. Your recordings are quite good, and especially for one take, whole performance is awesome. And there's no need to. This is another thing that happens a lot to a lot of people is when you record. Say you record yourself playing acoustic guitar, right?
Yeah.
And you put the microphone. If you put the microphone closer, you get that proximity effect that feels great. You're like, fuck yeah, this sounds great, But the reality is that the first thing that you're gonna do in a mix is you're gonna clean up the low mids because there's too much of it. It takes so much room. So it's good discipline to force yourself little by little to put the microphones further and further away. If your room sounds good. If the room doesn't sound good, you don't have a choice, right? But if your room is not too bright and too live, you can move the microphone away and you'll have less problems.
Yeah, I was not that close to the microphone because, I was singing with the microphone around here, and I have my keyboard in front of me.
Okay.
And I have when I play the guitar, so I was, not so close to the microphone. But I guess, listening to your mix, I realized that I may be, cutting too much information. So this was a really nice insight on what I'm doing wrong.
When I do these things for the community, I solo a lot so that people can really hear what I do. But when I work by myself, I don't really do that much soloing. I only solo when I don't understand what's going on. But in this particular, so that's also something that happens is like when you listen to something in the sauce. Well, my MO, the way I work is I listen to everything in the sauce. When I'm not doing this, I listen to everything in the sauce, and then I adjust, and then I solo to make sure that that I understand what I did for two things. So that if I'm doing a pop record, when I export the stems so that it sounds good alone, so that when somebody wants going to play live, they have the right stems, And second, for me to teach myself. So you're always learning, right? So I do something intuitively. I put the EQ on in the bass drum. I'm like, I don't like it. I'm change the bass drum. I do it in the sauce. And at the end, I listen to what the bass drum sounds like in solo for like 2 seconds, just to know where I am. So that way you have the best of both worlds. But actually shaping the sound of an instrument 100% in solo and then putting it in the sauce is kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, that's why, I don't really do it. That's why on the drums, I had an EQ, shelving some mid information. It was because I thought it was going against my vocal take, so that's why. And on its own, it's not really necessary, I guess.
And it did. But once everything fell in place, it was no longer necessary because of the balancing things. But I thought you did great, and you're a really good writer. And so you have a YouTube channel. So we're going to put your, make sure you send Ravi your info so that we can put a link to your YouTube channel in the description of this video. And then what I'm going to do next is we're going to hang up. I'm going to say goodbye, and then I will print this. And you know what? I will send you your session back so you can fuck with it.
Oh yeah, nice, very nice, cool.
Since I didn't change that much, and you probably have all these plugins, so. You do have all these plugins.
All of them, but
well, you're a Puremix subscriber, so you have a lot of them.
It was nice to see that you use a lot of reverb because I'm always thinking that I use too much reverb. I guess No, there's no such thing as too much reverb, right?
In which reference? Like, if you tell Enya that she used too much reverb, she'll laugh at you because that's her sound, right? And and you can't use this much reverb on a hip hop record because that wouldn't work. Although maybe Frank Ocean did what he did, or Kid Cudi did what he did, and then breaking that mold gave them an edge in that realm. It's 100% a taste thing. And so I heard your track and I was like, yeah, this is what he likes. Let's go and go in that direction. Too much reverb? Nah, no such thing.
Yeah, because on my vocal, I would sometimes use like 5 reverbs and then 2 delays and just go crazy.
You can, and that's awesome. If you can still tell, if the end result makes you happy and it creates a tone that you like, that's genius. You just did something perfect. And now on a geeky, kind of nerdy, I want to be the best at making records spirit, it's nice if you can achieve that and then you're still able to know why, right? So like slapping a bunch of stuff onto a track can be inspiring and happy accidents are great. But then at least from my obsessive perspective, it's like next time I want to hear that sound, I have to know how to do it without just slapping stuff on it. And so I go and look back at what I did. And you put 5 reverbs on your vocal and you can justify why after, more power to you. It's beautiful. That's your sound. Right. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Cool.
It's actually great.
Cool.
Awesome.
And I think the mix is sounding really great. The only, if I can suggest one thing, I think the drums are a bit too loud to my taste.
Okay, I'll take.
I like them to be kind of jazzy.
Okay.
So for me, the kick is a bit overwhelming, but I'm listening with this, so I don't know.
This is a good reference. That's what I need to hear. So I'm going to go with that right now. And
okay.
You, and then, off camera, when everybody else goes back to sleep, and after your work day, I don't know, it's 6 a.m., you can send me notes, or since I'm going to send you the session, you can fix it yourself to your liking.
I'd like to let a professional do magics.
Okay, you got it. I'll do it for you. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. This is awesome. Thanks a lot. We've never had a track like this. It's been a long time since I worked in Logic, so it was kind of like, since this is where I started, it was really fun to use the software again. And you have a lovely day, because you're about to have a day, and then you'll have this in your inbox tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much. Now.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. All right, let's go back to our program. So Blake said drums are too loud, especially the bass drum.
It's turning down. The truth is gone.
Reverb on the snare because I can't help myself.
It's turning down. The truth is gone. All my sin.
Let's see if that works for him. Cool. So I'm gonna print this and I'm gonna send it to him, and I will also put it on the mix-up. So right now on the mix-up, which you all have access to, you'll see his bounce, and then I'll do a new version, and you'll have my bounce as soon as I'm done with the bounce. Thanks a lot for watching this Mix Fix number 7. As a reminder, don't forget to subscribe to this channel because there will be a number 8. I don't know the song yet, but I think it's going to be epic. Today, we had the great pleasure of introducing the awesome drum replacer, which is waiting for you eagerly in your Puremix account. We also used, from the Puremix suite, you used the 2016. We used, what did I use? The 1178, Sugar. Where's my Sugar? Hi, Sugar. Sugar, which is awesome on vocals, awesome on everything, really. Spice Rack. There you go. And I'm forgetting one, I think. Oh, Mix-Up, duh. Decibel and Mix-Up. And these are all all for you, waiting for you. You also have access to Melodyne, but we didn't use Melodyne today because it didn't need it. So that's about it. Thank you very much for watching and for listening to Blake Walt's Your Eyes Being Mix Fixed. Have a lovely day. Cheers.